Hello! We're here to talk about a movie. So, what was it, last night? Yeah, last night we were cruising around, perusing the dark corners of Netflix, just checking out what they had to offer, trying to find something that looked interesting, and we stumbled across a movie.
You're totally ruining it.
Oh, what I do?
What the listeners need to know.
What do they need to know?
Is that you have always been somebody who likes horror movies, and I am somebody.
Okay.
I am somebody who does not like them. Jordan always gives me a hard time. He's just like, "Why do I even watch this with you? You'll watch all of it with your eyes closed." Like, I am terrified of horror movies. But then maybe a year ago, we watched A Cabin in the Woods.
The Cabin in the Woods.
The Cabin in the Woods. And I didn't even flinch. Like,
No.
I loved it. And everybody else was, like, cringing. And I was like, wow.
By
Like,
everyone else, she means me.
no, but, like, other people that had watched it were like, oh, yeah, that ending scene. I'm like, I didn't even flinch. So then I, like, started to think, okay, I'll be a little bit more into it. And then we watched the new It, which is, first of all, you said the number one grossing horror movie.
It is the number one grossing horror film.
So that means a lot of people went and were like scared and liked it and stuff. I didn't even close my eyes once. I was totally okay with it. So then I got really confident and I was like, Jordan, I want to watch a scary movie. So we're going through and looking at stuff. And then we saw James Franco on The Vault and it was under horror movies.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck? And I was like, immediately, we were both like, this either has the potential to be really freaking good or really, really bad. And so our story starts.
Yeah, and according to who you talk to, you'll get one of those two answers, that either it's a really fun movie or a really terrible movie.
And to be fair, we went into it with like no expectations.
No, none. We have our 15-minute rule. If we're not digging it after 15 minutes, we just turn it off.
We were so
And this
intrigued.
isn't the first time we just went and found a random movie on Netflix and ended up loving it. There's a lot of ones that we found out there on this.
I agree.
But this one is called The Vault, as you said. And also, you didn't mention, I mean, you've been doing great with the horror films and everything, but you didn't mention we even watched The Omen this year.
I already seen that.
You'd already seen that, but I mean, you've been doing really good at not getting scared.
But that's not like a monster movie.
No.
Like all these other ones are monster movies.
Yeah, that's one thing that we should probably tell the listeners is that you get scared of monster stuff is what scares you. And it had a lot of monsterish type stuff, and you were doing great with it. You didn't even care.
It was good.
There was only one part where I freaked out a little bit, but it wasn't even a scary part. It's when the kid breaks his freaking arm. I hate when limbs break. It bugs me so much. Anyway, we found The Vault. James Franco, as you said, who has the most like 70s porn stash ever in this thing. So The Vault is one part bank heist, one part horror film, one part M. Night Shyamalan night terror. So
that's a fair
yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I would say turn off this podcast and go watch it first before we talk about it too much, because
I would definitely say that.
Because we're gonna get in the plot here and we're gonna spoil it, and I would rather people watch it before I spoil it. But for people that have seen it, go watch it, then come back and we'll talk about it. Yeah. My biggest complaint is I wish that the Netflix synopsis did not give away that it had horror elements.
Oh, me too.
I think that this movie, it would have been way more effective if it was kept a surprise, because the tropes and the stereotypes of a horror film were pretty generic and paint by the numbers. Even though they were executed well enough, I think that they would have freaked you out way more if you went into this thinking it's just a bank heist movie. And then all of a sudden there's like
they
zombies.
They literally said in the synopsis, like, bank heist goes bad when zombies appear type of thing. And you're like, wait, what the heck? Where it could have just said where like creepy things ensue.
It could have said bank heist goes wrong and they find out there's more than meets the eye to this bank.
Yeah, or like
that could mean anything. It could be like, what was there gold under there? What is this connected to something? Like
it has to hint to the fact that it's scary, because I understand some people don't want to watch anything scary and they don't want to watch a bank heist action movie and then find out there's something scary.
I don't know. I still think it'd be way more effective.
But I feel like if they just weren't so outright with what the scary part was,
because it literally said in the synopsis is what they didn't know was the bank vault is haunted, and it's
it said zombies.
No, zombies is what I read in the thing. The Netflix synopsis said it was a haunted bank vault, and then I went and did a little bit of research.
Well, then I'm okay with
because
that.
I had to make sure there was no like too much for us, which there is a scene that's a little too much in there, but
there were a few scenes.
I think I only remember one. We'll talk about it as we get into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the movie did feel a tad bit disjointed, mostly because they were trying to cross a couple genres on top of each other. But I think
disagree.
I think they did a good job for what it was. I feel like it was kind of like Snowpiercer, where it's one of
I
those
did not like that
movies. Yeah, it's
movie.
just one of those movies where they're trying to do a little bit too much, and you can either love it or you can hate it, kind of thing.
No, can I add something?
Yeah,
Sorry, I know I'm
add
cutting
it.
you off. This is what I think. I think when you watch any movie, the first time around that ends up having like a weird aspect to it, whether that be a twist or it's like the first kind of movie that's in this genre, like you have to watch it a second time for it to really seem cohesive. Because I remember watching Memento for the first time and being like,
What the heck?
what the heck? That
Yeah.
movie was so disjointed. And then I'm like, well, yeah, because that's what the movie is. Now,
Well-
that's a more obvious disjointed one, but I remember after the first time watching it and being like, wait, they missed this and they missed that. But it's not until you watch it the second time that you're like, oh, I get it.
Well, I'll tell you this: going back and rewatching Memento, knowing the twist and everything, or how it ends or begins, I guess, however you want to look at it, Memento actually took a lot of care and time into making sure there were no plot holes. I imagine if we go back and watch this knowing it, we're going to be like, wait a second,
There's
that
only
makes no
one
sense there. Then.
major plot hole that I'm like, what the heck? Which we'll talk about it. But
Well,
I'm
it's
like,
also because they don't give you a full explanation, so you're kind of
Right.
like, I don't understand, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So this movie, I said it's the perfect Netflix and chill movie because it's not a great movie, but it's fun. It keeps you entertained the whole time. That's all that matters about a movie, is that it keeps you entertained. It doesn't need to have some social commentary
we
on
can't say that that's a good Netflix and chill movie. Neither you or I have ever Netflix
No,
and chilled.
I mean literally, like you just
Like,
need to
just
just chill
chill.
and watch a movie.
Not a different
I'm
Net
not
than
being
chill.
sexual about this. I'm literally saying this is a great movie if you're like, I got an hour and a half to kill and I just want to veg out and watch a movie that doesn't need to make me think too much.
Sure.
It's entertaining. Perfect movie for that. So this movie was released September 1st, 2017 in only 11 theaters in the whole country. 11 theaters. And it was only in those theaters for 1 week. So IMDb estimates it had a $5 million budget. Can you guess how much money it made in the box office that 1 week in 11 theaters?
I don't know.
$5,000. $5,700. Like, this is considered one of the biggest flops in the past decade when it comes to box
Interesting.
office
but
numbers
also,
and
they
everything.
didn't really give it a chance.
No, they really didn't. They put no money into promotion or marketing. They thought no one was going to like this. It has an actual good cast, which is kind
Yeah.
of weird. I think that it has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 50% on Metacritic, so it's not well received. But I think this is one of those movies like Funny Games that we talked about a while ago or a few weeks ago or whenever this is coming out, however long ago, where it's one of those movies where it's like you can find it has its place. And its place is not commercial success at all. This is a fun movie for
It's
people.
like indie James Franco crap.
Yeah, this is like a fun, like, oh, hey, that's James Franco. And hey, that's Clifton Collins Jr. and stuff. Like, hey, these are people I've seen in other movies. Director Dan Bush, he also wrote the movie. Really didn't do anything else I knew. Some other like zombie movies and stuff. So here's the cast. James Franco, as we said, rocking that stash, loving it, great. Clifton Collins Jr. was the detective. He's literally in the movie for maybe 1 minute of it. I was bummed he wasn't in it more. I love that guy. I think he's a great actor. They could have used him so much more, but they didn't. Scott Hayes is the man who played Michael, the brother with no finger. Taryn Manning, she played V, the one with the face tattoo thing that was like kind of a freaky. She's actually been in a lot of stuff. Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, she looks
Yeah,
familiar.
she's in Orange is the New Black as one of the main cast. She was in Sons of Anarchy as Rita Cherry Zamble. For all our Sons of Anarchy fans out there, I've never watched it. She was in 8 Mile too, which I thought maybe you would know her from that. She played
Oh.
Janine.
Maybe that's where I
Janine?
know her from. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
a
I
crazy
know
girlfriend.
you've liked 8 Mile. I had never seen it. And then, so the other girl, the other main girl, the one that we said looked really like robotic and alienish.
She looked like an
Do you know who she is? Francesca Eastwood. She's Clint Eastwood's daughter.
She looks nothing like him.
Like, what the heck? How is, like, I would have never in a million, we mentioned it so many
Must look like the
times.
wife.
We mentioned it so many times how just different she looked.
Yeah.
Not to be
She's very
mean, but
unique
she's very
looking.
unique looking.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that Clint Eastwood was her father. That's so weird to me. Okay, so that's the cast. You want to get into a plot breakdown of this and we'll talk about some weird
Well,
things
I think that what we should do, because I didn't know you were going to do like a complete spoiler. I think that to still go over
that's why
the
I'm giving the
plot-
disclaimer. People go watch it first.
No, but what I'm saying is instead, because I think people listen because they want to know if it's intriguing enough for them to
So
watch.
you want a spoiler-free
No,
breakdown?
we'll still do a spoiler, but not give away, like you normally do literally a line by line plot breakdown. Let's just do general.
I kind of am doing general here.
I'm looking at your paper
I know.
right now, and
You
it
think
is not general.
So let's see how general I get with it. All right. A group of 5 people pull off a bank heist.
That's it. I'm just kidding.
No, that's how I start. They take hostages, but don't want to hurt anyone, apparently. We find out that the 2 girls and the main guy are all siblings. The other 2 people are probably hired hands. And Michael is in some sort of trouble because he's missing a finger, we find out. So I assume, they never really say explicitly, but we assume they're doing it to help him. The money is supposed to help pay off, like...
Hold on, though. Because if you're going to give the spoilers at the end, you just missed a huge part of it.
What's the part?
Because what happens is that we see... Right, we come up, we're in a bank. We already know this is a bank heist movie. But while the credits are running...
Yes.
You're seeing all these, like... newspapers and articles of a bank heist where there were like 7 people who were held hostage in a bank, and then like the police were trying to get in, like it's all these
and
reports,
they were held there
and
for
then
days
you see
and stuff,
what happened to the coroner's report. And then the way the movie starts is you see that you're watching clips of these people being tortured from this bank heist, and then they set it on fire. So then the fire is going on in the building, and that's when we come into the bank that we're at, and you see
and there's a fire outside.
There's this camaraderie of 5 people who are looking at each other and kind of like they're all in and they're about to start. Well,
even then
heist.
They do a really good job of not letting you know at the beginning who's actually part of the bank heist.
They do a very good job
because every single person looks shady in there, and as you go in the movie, you find out one of them's a detective. Like who it is.
Why.
You know fairly quickly who's the robbers and who's not, but. At the first 5 minutes of the movie, you're sitting there going,
I
don't know which one is the
because what's about to happen.
Yeah, like you don't know which one is part of the bank robber group,
right.
Which I thought was really cool in that aspect. Anyway, yes, thank you for bringing that up. So they're all taken hostage, have bags over their heads, and then we hear James Franco say, "Hey, I'm the bank assistant manager. I'm willing to help you as long as you let all the hostages go and don't hurt anyone." So he helps them out. To turn off the alarm.
I don't think that's actually what he says.
Yeah, he says...
No. You're getting it wrong already. Because what happens
You didn't want me to give a line-by-line breakdown, and now you want me to give a line-by-line breakdown.
No, because you're going to ruin the spoilers if you say the wrong lines. Because what happens is that we know that they don't want to hurt anybody, right? We find this out within the first 5 minutes.
But none of the hostages know that. They're only telling each other that.
But I'm saying that we find out as viewers that they don't actually want to hurt them, but they accidentally end up hurting some people. So while this is all happening, James Franco speaks up and he's like, "Hey, if nobody hurts anybody else, I can help you. Like, you have to turn off the alarm. This is already getting triggered. This can only happen like... The police are already going to start coming here if we don't put this in within the next 3 minutes.
Because he knew they didn't follow protocol.
They realize, holy crap, this guy knows a lot, and we need to listen to him in order to not have the police come.
Yeah.
So then that's when he kind of takes on the leadership role, and he shuts down the alarm. He puts everything in. He puts in his specialty pin, and so he kind of wins the trust of the bad guys because they realize, holy crap, we really don't know what we're doing. And we could have totally just got caught with this.
Yeah. And because he doesn't care about the money. He just doesn't want people to get hurt.
Yeah. So then once this all happens, they go into the bank, right, to get the safe. And then when they come out, they're like, holy crap, there's only $70,000. And we were thinking it was going to be $1 million.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, we don't keep all the money there. We keep the money in the old bank vault, which is down in the basement. And then they're like, they already trust him. Like, they already know that he hasn't led them astray. As long as nobody gets hurt, he'll keep feeding them information.
Yeah.
And that's when...
And you forgot there was a not so subtle reference early in the movie to the bank manager saying, "Oh, we have a lot of employee turnover because everyone thinks this place is haunted." So they already kind of sprinkled that in your mind.
You already kind of know.
Yeah, they sprinkled that in your mind there. So the... what would you call him? I guess the guy that gets in the safes, the safe cracker.
Yeah.
The safe cracker guy goes downstairs
to the
basement, to the vault to break into it. And it's cool. All right, I'm going to break into it.
He drills into it.
So he's drilling into it, and then we go back up, and there's security cameras, and the main group is watching him on the security cameras, and he breaks into the vault, but then he stands up and he's like yelling at someone down the hallway, but they don't see anyone on the actual screen in the hallway.
And they do a really good job because when he looks up, there's one of just like a silhouetted black, like,
like it could be a
background,
hostage.
and then you're like, holy crap. And then when he looks up again, there's a second one, and then we look up again, there's a third one,
and then he turns around, there's like 4 behind him that we didn't see.
So you're seeing, you're like, holy crap. And I feel like pretty immediately you're like, these are the bank hostages. Like, these are the people in this old bank vault. Like, you put it together that
you're starting to
these
realize
are the people that are haunting this place. But
the
then
people that
immediately
died
you
in
and
the
I
old
both
bank
thought,
heist.
we're like, how the heck did they know that they were down there, and how did they know that they weren't going to then come up and terrorize everybody? So you're kind of like, okay, we already know that the employees know there's some kind of haunting, but maybe as long as they're in the basement, they don't go anywhere else.
Yeah, like that's all they stay at.
James Franco purposely sent them down there to like kill them through the ghosts.
Like, because he said no one ever goes down there anymore. Like, no one goes down there, which is why there's so much money down there, is no one goes and touches it. But what was cool about this scene is that we're watching on the security cameras, and he's being dragged away by literally nothing.
Yes.
And then you cut to like him, and he's got like all the people he's trying to like get them away. But while they're watching, he's literally being
like,
dragged
what is he doing?
by nothing. Yeah, and it's so crazy.
It's very creepy.
And so then we get some exposition here about what happened in 1982 from one of the bank employees. It said a man broke in 1982, and he took the 7 people hostage who were in the bank. And then he kept them hostage for days, and he realized he was demented. He just started toying with them, so he would force one of them to kill another person, or he would kill 2 other people and just end up toying with them and stuff. He was completely deranged, and he was wearing a white mask. He lit some on fire and stuff. He would torture them, but he was wearing a white mask. And it looks kind of like, if anyone plays video games, the game We Happy Few, kind of like that creepy, almost English face mask and everything. So we see him as the ringleader of all the dead hostages that were pulling away the safecracker. He's kind of wrangling them all, telling them what to do, which we both said, why are they listening to him? Like, he killed them. I don't understand why he's the ringleader. Shouldn't they be resenting him? And also, did he kill himself afterwards? Because that was never explained. We never. I mean, there was a fire. I figure he died in the fire, maybe.
But what's happening is that James Franco's in one room with one of the like bank robbers, and then the girl who's like the head teller is in the other room with the girl and like another bank robber. And she's like, "What the heck is happening? Like, why is he down there freaking out and stuff?" So she tells the story of, it's haunted. This place is haunted, and she says, this is why. And then she also says that some of them escaped. Some of the hostages escaped, but then he went down and killed them one by one. So even when they escaped, he still went after them
and found them.
So that's why even more we were like, wait, what the heck happened? Did this guy die eventually? Like, how is he still leading them in the afterlife?
Yeah, and I think they kept it ambiguous just for more of a scare factor. Like, they didn't want to explain it,
but obviously the bank robber doesn't believe her at this point. Like, she's like, this is like such crap. You're just trying to scare me. Like,
stop getting in my head.
We're gonna believe this.
But then what makes it belief is Michael, the one bank robber, goes down and he finds the safecracker sitting in a chair, and he takes the drill, and it looks like he's forcibly trying to stop the drill, but it's coming up closer and closer to his head.
No,
and then it
not
drills.
Yet.
Well, that was that not yet?
No, that doesn't happen until later.
Oh, well, next what we do.
He gets beaten up, and then he sees like his bloody face and stuff, and then it's not until later that he kills himself with a drill. It's not until almost the end that guy kills himself with a drill.
No. It was the same time when he sees with the sack on. He takes the sack off, and then his drill hand is there, and he does the drill right then.
I don't think it's that early.
No, the end, what you're thinking about, is when we finally see what happened to the other dude with his head blown off.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that early.
No, it's pretty early. It was pretty early that the dude drilled his head.
We clearly need to watch this movie again.
But we forgot to mention that the guy who was watching the hostages got taken away by the spirits.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened to him. Like, they literally, like, just evaporated him, and he's gone out of the room, kind of thing. And we're like, what the heck? And we'll find out later what happens to him. I kind of gave it away. But so Michael goes and realizes something's wrong because this dude just drilled himself in the freaking head.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, something is totally up here. It's not just ghost stories. That dude just killed himself.
Right.
That's crazy. So they realize that they need to kind of get going on this. But what they also realize at that moment is the cops are outside. And there's this weird thing where there's an outgoing call going. And so the one bank robber, she picks it up and listens. And it sounds like James Franco talking to the cops about like a bank robbery going on
in a weird voice.
So she's like, someone let them know, but we find out later no one let them know. It was literally luck that the detective thought something was going on, and then that's how they realized something was going on. No one called out of the bank. So she's thinking this, whoever it is, she's trying to figure out who is this person calling out and telling the cops. But all that to be said, the cops are outside. They know there's hostages inside, so now they can't go out the front door. They got to do their original escape plan.
I disagree with that. Somebody did call the cops.
No, because remember, he said no one called.
No,
he
she
said,
pulls it up, and she hears it.
Yeah, but that was... We'll get into what that was later. But no one actually called the cops because the detective said no one called. We found this out on a fluke. Like this... but that's part of the haunting, is that call. The call wasn't actually going out to anyone. Mm-hmm. She was hearing a call from 1982. So... They have to do with their original escape plan, where there's a city sewer pipe down in the basement, and Michael breaks into it pretty much so that him and his sisters can get out, because they're the only ones really still around at this time. The one dude drilled his head, and we don't know what happened to the other guy yet. So he gets it open. He goes, all right, let's just get the money. Let's get out of here. They start running away. The evil spirits are chasing them, kind of thing. V, the one girl, she goes into the vault and she sees the guy who disappeared, but his head is missing, because we find out in a flashback later in the movie, when it goes back and shows you everything that happened, he blew his own brains out with a shotgun. So he's dead. And so she leaves and goes through the sewer system, so she's out. And then it just leaves the last two, Clint Eastwood's daughter and Michael. And Michael essentially sacrifices himself to get her to go out. He pretty much lights the whole place on fire. And because he lights it on fire, it creates a scenario where the cops have to break in, because that's protocol, is when
the fire alarm goes off.
The fire alarms are going off and there's smoke, even if there's a hostage situations, the SWAT team breaks in, because they go, they're going to die in there. If not, we got to go in and try and save as much as we can. So hostages are saved. We have a moment where they're all being picked up by the cops. The two girls get away. Michael kills himself to stop the zombie spirit people from getting her. He's dead. So the only ones that make it out is V and Leia, or
girls.
Lee, or whatever her name is, the two girls. And we then cut out of the bank, and we cut to a little bit in the future, and they meet up in this desolate area, and they're listening to the radio, and the radio says, oh, this fire happened. All the bank robbers were killed in the fire. So they're like, they think we're dead. We're home free. We got all this money. Let's just go create a new life for ourselves and forget this all happened, because that was crazy. And so then we cut back to the detective, and he's questioning all the hostages, going, who was the bank manager that helped them? And they're saying, well, he was talking, like, because none of them saw each other's faces, because they all had bags on the whole time. So it wasn't until they were saved that they got the bags taken off. So they go, well, his voice, I didn't really recognize it, but he knew all the protocols. He knew what was going on. He obviously worked there. He had a pen.
They did see his face, because that's how she points him out.
Well, at the very end, when they're being taken by, like, when they're being rescued, she sees his face, because she was let the bag off to go to the bathroom, because the guy felt bad for her and let her go to the bathroom. So she was the only one who saw his face. So the detective's like, no one's giving me a straight story here. Who was helping them? Like, what's going on? And she looks at his board, the cork board that detectives have that have all like the question marks and stuff. And she goes, that's the guy right there. And points to a picture of James Franco. And he goes, that guy? That's not the guy. That is one of the victims who died in 1982. Mm-hmm. And then we cut back, and he was the one, James Franco in 1982 was the one who realized a robbery was going on. He called the cops to report it. And when he did, he got shot by the dude in the mask right after for reporting it. And so we assume that he's the spirit there to protect the bank now, because he was protecting the bank in his life. Now he's kind of stuck there, and he was helping kind of kill the robbers and save the hostages. And that was his sole purpose, was to save. And none of the spirits were ever trying to hurt the hostages. They were only showing themselves to the robbers and trying to hurt the robbers. So we assume that was his role in this whole thing. But to now go to the very, very last scene, is the two girls. They're like, all right, let's make a life for ourselves. We cut back to them. They go to turn the car on. The car won't start. So the one girl goes, let me check under the hood. It opens the hood up, and the radio starts playing. And it's the song from the intro music, and it's also the song that she was hearing in the bank at one point, and it won't stop. She's trying to change it and turn it off. and it finally turns off, and she's like, that's weird. And then we look through the windshield, and she shuts the hood, and behind her is standing the guy in the mask and grabs her. So he tracked him down like he always does. When people get away from him, he tracks him down, and that's how it ends. Some people may say it hokey and corny. I thought it was well done. I liked it. But what were you going to say about...
So this is the thing. I'm very, I am 110% sure that he doesn't say at the beginning, I'm the assistant bank manager, because that's, we're led to believe that he works there because he's there before anything even really happens. But then at the end, they're like, does he work here? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I've been here for such and such years.
She said 10 years I've been here.
And then they're like, well, was he a customer? Was he this? And she's like, no, I've literally been here for 10 years. I know every customer. I know every branch. I know this. He is somebody I didn't know before. So, the whole time it seems so, duh, he's a part of all this because nobody says anything weird about him. But then what you think is okay, so what happened is that all these hostages from the previous bank, they're there to now protect the bank from anything else. And while they're down there wreaking revenge on the bank robbers, he's up there protecting the people of the bank. So that's his job. But it's interesting because
we mentioned they played with time too a bit here to kind of misdirect you.
Well, they definitely make it seem like they show a few shots, which we kind of left out, that makes you think, oh, this is all one cohesive thing. But then once you know the twist at the end, you're like, oh, this was actually from 1982 and this one was actually from present, and this one, it kind of moves around. But going into it, you're it's a James Franco indie movie. There's got to be some kind of twist. So we're hypothesizing what the twist is and stuff. But one of the parts that kind of made us think oh, is this not a twist? Is because, you kind of find out as you get to know the bank robbers more and more that they're being held hostage. They're being forced into doing this. They're not happy. And their one thing that they were going to stick to is they weren't going to hurt anybody, but they had to get this money because they got in with the wrong people. And so what ends up happening is, there's a lot of discord and they're fighting in between each other. And when he gets them on their own, him meaning James Franco, he kind of pins them against each other. Oh no, don't you see? She's losing control, or who's in charge here? That's the issue, is and one of you guys isn't in charge, and blah, blah, blah. And you're maybe he's just somebody who's either one of the bank robbers, the person who's blackmailing all of them. You mentioned
it's Joker in the Dark Knight. Yes. He's the head guy, but no one knows he's the head guy.
Or you're okay, so he really is just trained in a hostage situation. This is how you
deal with it,
take advantage of their, psychological issues going on. So then you're okay, maybe it's not that big of a twist, and really the twist is just that there's zombies down in the basement, you know what I mean? Because, but then when it all comes around at the end, then you're oh my gosh, I have to go back and watch it from the beginning. Who did see his face, and when did this thing come in? But that's why when the outgoing call is happening, I thought that was really the bank making the call from him, his original distress call. I thought there really was an outgoing call.
No, that was not just that it him was messing with them. That's what it was, because the detective said no call came out. Yeah. We didn't receive any calls. Interesting. It's the same call he made in 1982.
Right.
So it's
well, that's what I was saying. Line. I didn't know if it was oh, James Franco was just sending out distress signals because the bankers couldn't.
Yeah.
Or what? But overall, it was,
it was good. My hypothesis, because we came up with a bunch of different twists. You said, oh, he's probably the leader. He's the guy that they're not in with and stuff. And then we said, okay, we did also guess James Franco's dead this whole time. He's not actually alive. But one thing I guess too is you're going to find out this is actually hell for these robbers. They died because they allude to this fire that's going on, and you don't realize till later that they set the fire as a distraction.
They do say that in the beginning.
Did they say it at the beginning? I only remember hearing it near the end. They say
when they're at the beginning, they're oh, what about the cops? Because when he's telling them, oh, you have to strip the signal, and they're they're too distracted with the fire.
My assumption was, because there was all this allusion to hell and torture and fire going on, that this was hell, and that when they did get out, all that was going to happen, it's room 1408 where you think you got out and then all of a sudden you're back in there.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a twist where the two girls got out, and then when they got in the car, they were going to zoom back to like the bank or
Sure.
something. And that's like they're stuck in their own personal hell kind of thing.
I think we also gave such a convoluted plot explanation that it'd be worth it just to watch it, just to
for
see
sure.
actually how it goes.
This is one of those movies that is really
It's
hard.
just so hard to
explain.
explain.
Like if you watched it and then listened to this, you would have followed along just fine with
But
us.
I also think that it'd be worth it to watch it afterwards, only because I love watching the movies once I know what the twist is, because then I know what to look out for.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
You know what I
It's
mean?
kind of like the Sixth Sense idea where
And
once you
also-
figure out, spoiler, he's dead, then you
Yeah.
can go back and be like, whoa, I didn't notice that interaction is really like
Yeah,
weird.
he's not talking to
He's not really,
anybody else.
no one's really talking to him.
I think one of the things that I liked about this movie is it definitely had the whole like psychological thriller aspect of it, where there's a lot of reprieve. It's not constantly scary. Like
yeah.
there's some, it's never funny, but it definitely takes away from the constant suspense. But at the same time, there are suspenseful moments, excuse me. And there's also like a little bit of the monster element. There's also the whole, twist at the end. Like overall, I think this is just a really good movie if you're not like really wanting to be scared, but you want that little scare factor.
It's the greatest sci-fi original movie that was never released on Sci-Fi.
I really enjoyed it.
No, I
to
really
be
enjoyed it
honest.
too. I'm not trying to say that everyone's going to enjoy it, but there's definitely a select group of people like us that will really find enjoyment out of this movie. I was going to say something.
But it's funny because Jordan touched on the girl who's Clint Eastwood's daughter. Like, she's not, like, it sounds so mean. She's not ugly at all, but she's very like unique looking. She's got like those like really wide set apart eyes and like a really
but they're
small
huge
face.
eyes too. So
at first we were like, wow, the creepiest part of the movie is her, because she's kind of like really mysterious and like she was like really creepy for a little while, but then you kind of just get used to
But
her.
it also didn't help that at the beginning she's wearing this awful blonde wig. So when
I
she
like
takes
that
the
part.
wig off, I was like, okay, you look a little bit more normal now.
She looks like an anime character at first.
Yeah, she did. But then she started getting like this Sarah Connor vibe. Like what she was wearing looked exactly like Linda Hamilton wears in Terminator 2.
Or like Kim Possible.
Yeah, it was so funny. But yeah, so fun fact for you. Apparently, there's a scene where they get movie money from the vault, but they're like, it's all from 1982. Every bill in here is from 1982, and that kind of starts giving you clues to what's going on. But apparently, no bills were printed in 1982. The mint skipped, or not the mint, whatever, the treasury skipped from 1981 to 1985. So that is a incorrect statement. There would have been no bills printed
Well, I don't
in
think that was really
1982.
money.
No, I don't think so either. I think
Maybe
it
that
was
was the
all
ghost
there
playing
is fake
tricks.
stuff. But no, I just thought that was kind of a funny like factual thing that they got wrong. Like who's going to be looking for that though? It's kind of stupid. So there is a horror movie website that reviews horror movies called Ginger Nuts of Horror. And so they had this to say that I thought was really funny. Their biggest gripe in the movie is James Franco's mustache.
Oh,
It's
gosh.
well on the way to being a 70s porn stash and deserves a film of its own.
Leave James
in
Franco
this one,
alone.
it just looks a bit moth-eaten and obvious. I like the
I love James
I like the way
Franco.
they describe the moment James Franco started talking. He goes, and then the hole under James Franco's mouth opens and words come out. And I was like, this guy is awesome. Whoever's writing this review, I loved it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's The Vault. Definitely check it out. One other movie on Netflix, if you're looking for a random Netflix movie that's like this, The Perfect Host. No, what was it?
Perfect Host?
It was either The Perfect Host.
I think it's The Perfect Host.
Yeah, I think it's The Perfect Host. It's the dude, I believe, who plays Nigel on Frasier. Pretty much.
Is that Grammer? Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey, no, his brother.
Oh,
Kelsey
his
Grammer's brother.
Okay.
And I think it's him. If not, it looks a lot like him. That movie was one of those hits we found too, where we just decided to give it the 15-minute rule, and we both fell in love with that movie.
It was crazy. I don't think it has a lot of replay value.
Probably not, but it was crazy,
for a first
insane.
time-
And the acting was great because it was just insane acting.
Yeah.
Like
It was
literally,
definitely
he was
one of those
insane.
ones where you're like, okay, something is happening, but I
You
can't
don't
put
know
my
what.
finger on it.
It's like The Invitation, where you know something's wrong, but you
Love
don't
The
figure it out till the end.
Invitation.
It's that was what this movie was. You knew something was wrong, and you didn't figure it out until the end. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's
a
great.
good one.
Yeah, so that's a good one. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions of really weird movies that no one's ever heard of that you think we would like, let us know at Wreck My Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or just email us, wreckmypodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for doing this with me, Madison. A fun little bonus episode here. Or this may even be a full episode. We're getting to that point. 35 minutes. It may just be a full episode here.
Yeah, make me a full episode guest.
Yes, you're a full episode guest.
As their little dog falls asleep
You've been
in my
on the
arms.
podcast a lot.
Yeah, but I'm like B ranking. Like all the
No.
guys get first ranking, and then
No.
you're like, "Hey, you live with me. Can I use you for a podcast?"
You had a lot of fun on the last
I'm
Disney
just
one.
kidding.
Come
Yeah,
on.
it was fun.
It was a good time. One other thing, you did mention that what you liked about this movie is that it gives you some reprieve. I think that's why you liked it, because it wasn't constant horror. There was a lot of moments where it was like, okay, now we get a little bit of drama. We get a little bit of Goonies now. Okay.
It's the same with The Cabin in the Woods and all the other ones that I like. Yeah, there's like, we pretty much narrowed it down to the fact that I don't like dirty, realistic
women.
Like, I don't like The Grudge. I don't like Dark Water. I don't like Mama. Like, I don't want anything that looks like a creepy mom.
Yeah.
I'm not down for.
But you're okay with The Ring? Because that's
No,
creepy
I don't,
kid.
But I've seen The Ring so much
that it doesn't bug you anymore.
But I think that, yeah, like it's like clowns and stuff. Like, clowns don't scare me.
But he was a creepy clown with shark fangs.
But I'm just saying, like, that's never been something that scares me. Granted, I still, like, when I woke up in the middle of the night, I was like, oh, crap. Like, I'm having visions in my head kind of thing.
Yeah, we both had nightmares at night, but mine wasn't.
But it was fine.
Mine wasn't an it-related nightmare. Mine was a nightmare about virtual reality.
There you go.
Yeah, so I had a nightmare that night.
So, yes, if you guys have any recommendations of, like, kind of suspenseful but not too suspenseful, no creepy monsters but still like a scary movie that has some reprieve, like, I will definitely watch
we'll give it a shot. Or even just movies that most people haven't heard of.
Also, no rape scenes.
Yeah, that's a hard no for both of us mostly.
Yeah.
I can handle it, but I don't enjoy it. Like when I watched The Clockwork Orange, it's the reason why I will never watch that movie again. It's just gratuitous to me. Like, I don't mind if you imply it, but there's no reason in any
I don't even want it.
Yeah, there's no reason in any scenario where I need to actually see it happen. You know, like, just cut that freaking part out. It doesn't need to happen. So, yeah, none of that would be great. But, yeah, any weird movies would be super cool to check out. And our dog is ready to go to bed, so I think we're going to call it a night. Thanks, Madison. This was fun.
Thanks, babe. I love you.
I love you,
Sorry
too.
you let me, or thank you for letting me
tell me I'm wrong
interrupt
and
you
condescend
and try
me
and
and whip me
No,
emotionally.
no.
I'm just kidding.
We need to watch the movie again.
Let's watch it right now. Okay, bye. Is that always your
This is
start?
how you know where to start the sound. Instead of doing the obnoxious clap, you just go
The
by
clap?
my click.
Oh, because that's like the slate?
Yeah.
You realize the slate is only needed if we have video, though, because it's for syncing purposes only.
No, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's why we do it. So I appreciate that, though. That's actually a great...
Well, you know what? Peacock you!
I think that's a great idea, actually. From now on, I'll do peacock instead of...
It's not peacock.
Yeah, peacock. It's my peacock.
Oh, gosh.
My 10-inch peacock. All right.
Horrible.
You ready to start this guy?